America's Space Shuttle program can be recognized as one of the most revolutionary developments in the history of space travel. As the world moved forward in the space age, the US needed a new system that was flexible and could handle a variety of missions in order to keep up. But what had made the Space Shuttle so much more versatile than previous spacecraft? This came mostly from new technologies that had been developed in the time after the Apollo missions. Space shuttles were equipped with a 60-foot-long cargo bay that could be used in combination with the Canadarm robotic system to manipulate orbiting payloads far larger than anything the US had previously been able to. Another major change from previous space programs was the large crew compartments, which allowed for crews of variable sizes between 2 and 7 people. However, the program was not without its flaws. An overambitious launch schedule combined with the miscommunication of potential issues would lead to the death of 2 crews along with the destruction of the respective shuttles.
So, was the space shuttle a success? Depends on who you ask. Many would say it was, and that the disasters that occurred, while tragic, don't overshadow the overall triumph. Others say the Columbia and Challenger disasters, particularly for their avoidable nature, mar what should have been a fantastic legacy.
STS-1, the Space Transportation System, or STS-1, was the first mission launched on April 12, 1981, carrying John Young and Robert Crippen as they completed 36 orbits around the Earth before landing. This mission served as proof for reusability of the shuttle, one of the main goals from the start of the program. STS-41-C. The 11th Space Shuttle mission was carried out on April 11, 1984. This was a satellite repair mission, the first ever one to be completed while in orbit. 2 men, James Van Hoften and George Nelson, would be tasked with the repair, using the tools of the Space Shuttle to capture the Solar Max satellite. The mission was not flawless, with the capture attempt failing and sending the satellite tumbling for nearly 12 hours. The satellite was eventually stabilized, but the shuttle used up nearly all of its minor adjustment fuel. Ultimately, the Solar Max satellite was captured with the Canadarm and was successfully repaired. Despite the flaws that came with the mission, this was a major step in improving its reliability. STS-31. The 35th Space Shuttle mission launched on April 24, 1990. This flight was carrying the Hubble Space Telescope, a platform for the discovery of things such as black holes at the center of galaxies or finding signs of habitable planets in other solar systems. The mission was filmed with an IMAX camera from the cargo bay, which appeared in the 1994 film Destiny in Space. This mission was incredibly high profile and, with many believing the shuttle had proven its reliability, became the vehicle of choice for this mission. STS-88. This mission was the beginning of something far bigger, not only for the Space Shuttle program, but for human spaceflight as a whole. Spanning over 2 missions, the Space Shuttle carried parts of the International Space Station up into orbit and docked them. This mission in specific carried the US-built Unity module and connected to the Zarya cargo bay module. It took almost 7 days and 3 spacewalks to dock and connect the power and data cables for each module. STS-106. The second visit the Space Shuttle made to the ISS with the purpose of preparing the Russian Zvezda module for its first residence. During this mission, a 6-hour spacewalk was performed to route 9 power, data, and communication cables between the Zvezda module and other Russian-built modules. They also installed a 6-foot magnetometer, which allowed the space station to track its orientation to Earth, which could minimize fuel consumption for minor adjustments. From the start, the entire Space Shuttle program contained fundamental flaws that would ultimately end up killing 14 people throughout the program's lifetime. These 2 accidents, the Challenger and Columbia disasters, were not random accidents. They were the product of poor management at the upper levels, with many safety issues having their criticality downplayed in an effort to meet a launch schedule that was unrealistic for the level that the program was operating at. This came primarily from NASA committing to an unrealistic launch schedule for such an experimental craft.
They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us.
STS-51-L. This was meant to be one of the most revolutionary flights of the program, not because of the payload, but the crew. The shuttle was carrying Krista McAuliffe, a teacher who was meant to be the first private citizen astronaut. During takeoff, the hot conditions of the day would cause a leak in the rocket boosters, which would lead to an explosion that killed the crew. This came after numerous reports from engineers that the launch should be scrubbed, but it went on anyway. STS-107. This was the second fatal mission of the Space Shuttle program. During its launch on February 1, 2003, a piece of insulating foam would break off from the external tank, damaging the heat shield. This came after other strikes that were reported during different launches, but the potential dangers were ignored. While re-entering the atmosphere, the damaged heat shield would let the heat penetrate and destabilize the craft, causing it to burn up before it could even land. The Space Shuttle program was a symbol of America's future in space. However, even with this long list of achievements from the program, there remain unaddressed issues as can be seen with both the Challenger and Columbia disasters. The reports from engineers about potential issues were ignored. They chose to launch knowing the booster seals had been compromised, and requests from the engineers to inspect the Columbia heat shield before re-entry were rejected. This poor management came primarily from the overambitious launch schedules, which despite being scaled back after Challenger, were still being pushed to unrealistic standards for a craft of such an experimental nature. The disasters associated with the Space Shuttle program differ from many other spacefaring disasters due to their avoidable nature. This makes it difficult to look at the program as an all-around success. The achievements put forth still deserve to be celebrated, but it is important to learn from the shortcomings, ensuring that safety standards are met to prevent further loss of life.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmets on.